Whereas I know that I could speak somewhat passionately on this subject for a considerable length of time, attention spans compel me to be concise. Incredibly, today marks 60 years gone by since that afternoon in Dallas on which President Kennedy was murdered. And now, these 60 years later, those of us who continue to mourn this occurrence for the tragedy which it truly was, likewise see, every day, all around us, the evidence which validates the assertion that the assassination of this individual was just that, a tragedy. Now, the majority of what I could say on this subject has already been said 100,000 times before, in fact, and I can hardly contribute anything new to the ongoing eulogy, save for in one lone respect. I do have one lone sentiment to offer, which, as self-evident as it is, I've never really heard anyone address before. Let me preface this by cautioning you, I have very little patience for conspiracy theorists, and I have no tolerance for the damage which a lot of them enable. In terms of this tragedy, whether one degenerate acted alone, or whether it was collusion fomented between shadow contingencies with a hidden agenda, for me, the outcome remains incontestably the same. The deed was done. This man was killed. That is what matters most. Now, I say this to you fully aware of what is, by and large, the attitude toward this event here and now today. It is an attitude entailing the full range of derision and dismissal. It comprises ignorance. JFK, who's that? Indifference? That was all so long ago, it's ancient history. Who cares? Irreverence? Of the sort affected by anarcho-punks and the like, dead Kennedys, that sort of thing. This, of course, commingled with that carnival mindset which dictates a white guy in a suit, in a position of political power, got wasted? That's great, let's party. Then, of course, you have the abstractionists and the self-styled Soviet apologists who gloat that this was, in fact, a very good, positive thing to have happened. That it is, in fact, something to celebrate. It is not my intention to engage any of these elements. They are simply not worth the time. No, that which I must impart to you today is directed at whoever the actual original perpetrators of this assassination were. If this was, as most suspect, a conspiracy, then those selfsame conspirators lived to see the results of their actions. A lot of them will have lived to see the world as it is today. And I do mean the entire world, not just this country. For just as they did these 6 decades past, these actions went on to affect absolutely everything from that point forward. And having lived to see the results of these actions, these conspirators, irrespective of whatever their motives were, in spite of whatever rationalization they employed to justify these actions, be they in the name of jingoistic nationalism, pseudo-patriotism, a solidarity to return to traditional America, whatever their reasons were, it is a statement of profound fact that whatever it is they were hoping to achieve, it never happened. They never got it. Whatever they were trying to attain, it went unaccomplished. Whatever political miracle they actually believed would occur because of their actions, no matter what their objectives and aspirations were, their ambitions crashed and burned that day. which they were to come to learn as having stood still, time recommenced, and the years elapsed. And whereas we are the ones who suffered the loss, these perpetrators are history's losers. For although it came at our expense, their blood-stained trigger fingers likewise bear the unmistakable taint of utter and abject failure, which they were to carry with them over the years as they bore witness to the sum total of their one lone achievement, the dissolution and disintegrity of a nation. Whatever it was, they did not get what they wanted. Now that is hardly a silver lining. There is very little solace or satisfaction in this realization for all of the rest of us, left treading the waters midst the flotsam and jetsam in the wake of what has been called the death of the American dream. It has also been said that this assassination is simply and irrevocably one of those fixed points in history, inevitable, unavoidable, that whether ordained by God or destined by fate, this simply had to happen. I do not like to believe this, although in all candor I have long since begun to wonder, because I will restate this to you. Absolutely everything changed on that day. And it has all been downhill ever since, despite all of the progress to the contrary. It's as if we reached a fork in the road of our collective conscience that afternoon and were forced to choose the wrong path. And now, these 60 years later, even if it has been with our very best intentions, we have been paving that path ever since.